What's up, everybody? We've got a new champion in the middleweight division, Dricus Du Plessis. We're breaking down the next fights to make at middleweight for Dricus and the fallout. We waited a few days for the dust to settle. We were hoping maybe there were some fights that would be announced, but stick around and let us know what you think the next fight should be. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the 10-7 MMA. I'm DS, and as always, I'm here with my guy. Well, not in person, but, you know, in spirit, as always, I'm here with my guy, Dino Bam Bam. What's up, man?
What up, DS? How's it going, bro?
It's going, my friend. We obviously had a massive title fight at the middleweight division take place this past weekend at UFC 297. We saw what's potentially, I mean, no matter how you see it, no matter if you like Du Plessis or if you're a Strickland fan, no matter how you spin it, you have to admit, unless you're just a complete casual, but even to a complete casual, one of the closest title fights of all time, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we were texting throughout the fight. Rounds 2 and 3, man, ridiculously close as it gets. I personally, you know, gave the edge to Sean Strickland, but I can understand someone giving DDP those rounds. Not that way. Come on. I'm not edging. I'm not out here with my yacht for the Rizzler, nothing like that. I don't know about these things, you know. I'm too old for all that. But
I don't know. You seem pretty well versed right now.
It's because of the memes that you send me, brother. You keep me young. But I'm saying rounds 2 and 3, you know, dangerously close to put it in a, you know, in that way. I have no issue with anyone giving either round to Sean Strickland or DDP. Again, personally, I thought Sean Strickland won that fight, but you know, congrats to DDP.
Yeah, the people that say that that Strickland won it will point to the damage on the face of Dricus.
Yeah.
The people that say that Dricus won it, they'll say, like I saw Henry Cejudo I think it was Cejudo breaking down that Dricus kind of changed the No, I'm sorry, it was Mighty Mouse. That he changed the dynamic of the fight, mixed in some wrestling, you know, through a wider variety of bigger shots. Strickland mostly used the jab, and he did. But, I mean, shit, the proof is in the pudding. You look at Dricus's face after the fight. So it's super close. We're not here to discuss that, though. The fact of the matter is we have a new champion. His name is Dricus Du Plessis at middleweight. And today we just wanted to get into what's next for Dricus Du Plessis, what's next for the top of the middleweight division. We've all seen some names thrown around at this point. Let's dive into the most obvious one first. Somebody we just talked about, Sean Strickland. What do you think about that?
I mean, absolutely. To me, Dino, I think with the state of middleweight, and this isn't our state of the divisions episode, but with the state that middleweight is in right now, I don't think anybody has necessarily earned a title shot. Therefore, I would give it to Sean Strickland, just due to the fact that the fight was so close. It was so controversial. I would say the majority of fans almost think that Sean Strickland won that fight. So, yeah, man, why not? And with Sean Strickland's star power, there's no reason to not give the guy another crack at this title unless the higher-ups are trying to do their thing and ESPN and Disney are involved and, you know, they don't want the mouthpiece that is Sean Strickland. But, you know, the dude put up a hell of a fight. He is the former champion. Close split decision. We've seen split decisions before, you know, in title fights with guys with no title defenses, and they've gotten an immediate rematch. And I don't think they were the star, you know, the level of star that Sean Strickland is. But yeah, to me, the obvious answer is Sean Strickland.
Yeah, am I wrong? Did Dana like immediately after the fight say no to the rematch? Am I wrong on that?
No, you're right. So in the post-fight presser, the media was asking him, "How about an immediate rematch with these two?" He goes, "We're not thinking about immediate rematch." Which, you know, is weird because Dana always does the thing of, you know, we don't make fights on Saturdays.
Right.
And then he goes, no immediate rematch. That's not what we're thinking right now. And then we have something for Du Plessis. We'll announce that next week, which was like, that's weird. So you were kind of expecting this guy to be champion. That's the way I took it. And with all the shit that Izzy's been saying, it seems like it's Izzy who's second on our list. It seems like DDP Izzy's the fight that they're making.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Izzy and DDP?
Yeah, well, just real quick on Strickland. So, I mean, he is so abrasive. I know that Dana is in such a tough spot because Dana loves a superstar. And we talked about this in one of our other videos before, maybe a couple videos. The UFC doesn't really have a ton of true superstars right now. Yeah. Sean Strickland, his post-fight interview video got over 1 million views in 24 hours, I want to say. Or was it 48 hours? Really short amount of time, though. That is certified superstar. So Sean O'Malley, you know, whatever you're trying to Go ahead.
I was going to say on that point, Dino, we always mention Adesanya and we always mention Charles Du Bronx. He's entering that sphere. Him and Alex Pereira have really done well for themselves over this last year. They're huge now. Sean Strickland, Alex Pereira, huge stars in the UFC.
The numbers speak for themselves. So I know that Dana is like caught between a rock and a hard place, right? Because I know that why wouldn't Dana want? He's the one who was recently just defending free speech, which I'm all for. He was defending free speech. He's defending somebody like Sean Strickland, but then is immediately denying him a rematch in one of the closest title fights of all time. It doesn't quite add up.
That he claims he thinks Sean Strickland won, which is even weird.
Thank you. Great point. That he himself believes that Sean Strickland won. So it doesn't quite add up for me. And Sean Strickland, let's face it, he is very abrasive. He's not going to change. With him being in the spotlight, we got a little taste of it. He wasn't champ for super long, right? And he was. Yeah. It's not like UFC fighters are out there, with giant platforms most of the time, for the most part. So the mainstream media got a little bit of a taste of Sean Strickland, and all hell broke loose, right? Yeah. People were calling for him to be canceled and all this shit. So maybe there is more to that, right? We'll never know. We can only speculate. Let's move on to Adesanya, like you said, right? Because that's the name that we're hearing second most often thrown around, right?
Yeah.
By the way, I also agree with you. Why not Strickland? It should be Strickland, in my opinion. If there was for example, there's some fights that we're going to touch on a little bit later in this video. If one of these fights happened a little bit earlier, and there's a specific person that won one of those fights, maybe I would feel a little bit differently. If Adesanya was coming off a win, let's say, right? Maybe I would feel a little bit differently. In its current state, with what we're facing right now, I do think that Strickland is the right choice. We'll see what happens with that. Going on to Adesanya, right? The last time we saw him, he got the bricks beaten off of him by Sean Strickland.
Right.
So he took a long time off. Now, give credit where it's due, right? The whole division right now is in turmoil, right? You take the king, right, and you remove him, somebody who's dominated the division. Right. You can basically say he lapped it twice. So you take that away, and somebody who's been a longtime champion, dominated everybody along the way, was very active, took every fight that was offered to him and more. So I'm not taking anything away from him, but it's like, dude, we just saw you. It wasn't a flash KO. It wasn't you just got dominated by Sean Strickland.
Yeah.
So Sean Strickland just lost to the current champion in one of the closest fights of all time. Adesanya was completely dominated by Sean Strickland, hasn't fought since. So I know why they're talking about making this fight, right? It's because of all the history with Du Plessis and Adesanya. So from a sales perspective, it does make a lot of sense. So, yeah. And for what it's worth, I do want to see the fight. I do think it'll be a very fun fight.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how you think that fight would end up. But I don't mind Adesanya. I just think it's like, come on, like give me, like there's so much turmoil in the division. There's so much movement right now. I would still much rather take Strickland. I guess I understand Adesanya purely for like it's just such a big fight to make.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's not super logical to me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the Adesanya DDP fight or the DDP Adesanya fight at this point, it's about.
I mean, they did a stare down.
Yeah, it's about the spectacle, right? Dino, we were at UFC 290. We saw the moment in the cage where Izzy walks in after DDP had beat Robert Whittaker. You know, they do the whole thing with some expletives being thrown around and whatnot. Like, I get it. That fight sells. Israel Adesanya, love him or hate him, he's a star. He's one of those people that if you love him, you want to watch him fight. And if you hate him, you can't wait to see him get knocked out. Like, Izzy is also controversial. Izzy has a ton of supporters. I get it. DDP's from South Africa. Izzy's Nigerian. Like, it makes sense. The fight totally makes sense. The only thing is, and again, I am an Adesanya fan. It's like, how many rematches does the guy get before he has to do a non-title fight, right? It's like, yeah, you lost to Poatan. You got the immediate rematch, which was well-deserved. You went out, you won that fight, and then you lost. You didn't defend your title the next time. Yep. I'm okay with Adesanya getting a rematch or, a title shot without getting a fight in, but you do have to realize that slows down the division. And if there is someone that is more deserving, that person's getting screwed over.
No question.
That's what it is.
No question. And on that note, the person most getting screwed over in that case would be Jared Cannonier.
Yeah.
So if you take away all the glitz and the glam and the sales side of it, right, and the money aspect of it and the profits and pay-per-view buys and things like that, the most deserving is potentially Jared Cannonier.
Yeah.
Right? Am I wrong on that?
No, you're 100% right. The things that are going against Jared Cannonier, he's on a 2-fight win streak right now, okay? His last
one
loss
of them is against Strickland too.
Well, he won that fight.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he won that fight. You can argue, it was another close fight, but he won that fight.
Right, but we have a champion now with a close fight, right, Dino?
Right.
Yeah, so his last loss was Israel Adesanya, UFC 276 for the title. Since then, he's won 2 in a row, Sean Strickland and Marvin Vettori. Sean Strickland, obviously now the former champion. Marvin Vettori, a top contender for years now. Jared Cannonier makes a lot of sense, right? Like, there's an argument to be made. The two things going against him, one, as you mentioned, it's the popularity. Like, Jared Cannonier does not excite the MMA casuals. Jared Cannonier might not excite the diehards of this sport, right? Jared Cannonier is just a veteran. Like, he's a guy that's been there. He's been good, and he is who he is. The other thing going against them is the fact that there's just these, it's these superstars, It's these superstars in front of him, and he's injured right now, I guess, is another thing. But Jared Cannonier, man, one more win, and he's undeniable, I guess, at this point.
In the top 6 in the official UFC middleweight rankings, Jared Cannonier is the only fighter with any sort of win streak. He's on a 2-fight win streak. Yeah. Everybody else is either coming off a loss or only has 1 win. So, listen, I'll be honest with you. It's the fight of probably of all the ones that certainly of the first 2 that we talked about that I want to see least,
Right. Yeah.
I'm not saying it wouldn't be a good fight, but, just on paper, it's the one I'd want to see least. It's unfortunate for Jared Cannonier because who is he supposed to fight next? Right. I mean,
yeah.
What is his injury, by the way? How badly is he injured?
I think it was a knee, and I think it's somewhat serious. I don't know how serious it is, but I think I heard
maybe that's all it is then. So,
yeah. Well, we could hit him up. That's the perks of growing in this industry, bro. We can hit up Jared Cannonier. We got connections, y'all.
We do have something in the works potentially for this Friday, which we'll be announcing at some point soon.
Yeah.
On that note, okay, cool. Moving on to the next guy that I hear thrown around, and I really don't like this one as a potential fight here. And of course, we're talking about Khamzat Chimaev. Yeah. So, Khamzat, last fight, barely, arguably won versus Usman. They gave him obviously the win. You can make an argument that he lost that fight. You can make an argument that he lost the last 2 rounds. I mean, as the fight went on, Kamaru Usman was definitely taking control of the fight. I thought he was landing the better shots. Khamzat was, there was not nearly as much thing on his shots. Khamzat, basically, if you can survive a round and a half with him, you might be able to do all right against him. So, for me, this guy's ridiculous, man. He's just constantly calling people out. He's called everybody out. I'm surprised you haven't gotten a call from him yet. So, he's calling everybody out, never fighting anybody. I know he had some health issues, but it's like, dude, then focus on getting healthy. Focus on getting healthy, and then think about who you're going to fight next. Every time you call somebody out, it's like, this guy just won a title. Hey, man, I will see you soon. It's like, can you get a win, bro?
Right.
Like, he has 1 win in recent times in the middleweight division. He was going back between welterweight and middleweight. He has a win overall welterweight in the middleweight division. Has no wins against anybody in the top 15, right? I mean, so it's a fun fight. Don't get me wrong. When Khamzat fights, you want to watch it. It's always exciting, if nothing else. Yeah. But I just don't think in any way that he's deserving. Kamaru Usman's really good. He's on the downturn of his career. Still, it's a good win for Khamzat. Yeah. But beat somebody else, man, right? They have him, at 8 or 9 in the rankings now?
I think 9, yeah. I think 9 last time I checked.
9, right? So let's see a Cannonier Khamzat fight if Cannonier's healthy, right?
Yeah.
Give me something like that. And then if you beat Cannonier, I'm okay with you getting a title shot next.
Right.
But in the meantime, it doesn't make sense.
I'm with you, Dino, 100%. But because Jared Cannonier, whatever his next fight is, to me, that's a title eliminator. I mean, it's not a title eliminator if he's fighting number 13 in the division, right? But for him, it's a title eliminator. I don't think they would do that to him.
And an aging fighter, especially, I don't think they do that to him.
You don't think they give? I think Khamzat versus Cannonier is a huge possibility.
No. I'm sorry. I think that's a huge possibility for sure. I'm saying I don't think they would give Cannonier somebody other than Khamzat because it's a huge fight as it is. If he beats Khamzat, he's fighting next for the title for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying I don't think they give him somebody like way down the rankings. You know what I mean?
No, I doubt they do that because, you know, the UFC has a tendency to want to use those guys higher in the rankings, the older guys, right? They want to use you to build somebody else up and get them closer to the title. But yeah, I mean, look, Khamzat Chimaev, man, it's not unlikely that after all the dust settles and all this stuff gets figured out that he's holding the belt. I don't doubt that for a second, but it is way too early having fought no ranked middleweights, having fought Kamaru Usman, who obviously you can't take anything away from Kamaru Usman, one of the welterweight GOATs, but an aging Kamaru Usman with terrible knees, up on super duper short notice, halfway across the world. The win, you know, it doesn't look that, like it's not that valuable. It's not as valuable as it should be. Let's say that. So Khamzat Chimaev, a couple wins away, and more so than a couple wins, like you said, show me some activity, right? Show me some consistency. I want to see you in there beating two guys at middleweight within 2-3 months, which was the allure of Khamzat Chimaev when he first came out.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, that was his whole thing. His whole shtick was he fights every week, right? He fought like 3 times in like a month, and he was just dominating these guys. And then, you know, and he's barely been fighting since then. We see Khamzat Chimaev once a year, maybe, if we're lucky. So the wins on his resume are very impressive. Gilbert Burns, you know, right now, Kamaru Usman, Kevin Holland. These are welterweights, Dino. Let's start doing it at middleweight. I'd love to see Khamzat versus Vettori. I'd love to see Khamzat versus Jared Cannonier. I'd love to see him, you know, versus any of those guys. Then you can give me one of the top dogs, Khamzat versus Izzy, Khamzat versus Strickland or something like that. Then I'm cool with a title shot after that.
Yep. He claims he's ready to fight now, but he said that many a time, right? So if he needs some time, I wouldn't even mind seeing him take on the winner of Dolidze versus Imavov.
Yeah, and if it is Imavov, you have a card coming up in June in Saudi Arabia. It makes perfect sense. A fight night, you can do Chimaev, Imavov, and the you know, the people, the higher ups there will be happy with it. The fans here will be happy with it. I don't see a reason to not make that fight if Imavov ends up beating Roman Dolidze.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Nothing against Khamzat. Super exciting fighter, man. It's just like I hate this shit of bouncing between divisions. Like unless you're gonna fight like twice a year at welterweight, twice a year at middleweight, fine.
Yeah.
It's all about the activity.
2-1, something. Give us something.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't like it. It's for the same reason that it's like almost like a similar thing where I don't like this shit of, like, for example, I've heard Alex Pereira thrown around, right? Yeah. For Du Plessis, or like this shit of like, I want to be champ. I want to be fucking champ. It's like, it kills me, dude. Like when Adesanya did it, it made complete sense, right? The dude lapped the division twice. He's taking on a tough matchup for himself versus Jan Blachowicz. Like he had nothing else to prove at middleweight, right?
Right.
When like
Alex Volkanovski.
Volk, look at Volk.
Yeah.
He cleared out the entire division, right? Where it's like, who the hell is he supposed to fight? So I respect him going up to lightweight. It was the right time to do so, right? This bullshit of like everyone wanting to be champ now, it's so annoying. It slows down 2 divisions. You got literal contenders who are fighting their ass off, who are some of these, like some exciting prospects coming up too in the divisions. And now you got these guys who are just, and then if it's a close fight, now they're going to do a rematch. And it's like, fuck's sake, you're literally setting back the entire division.
Yeah.
And then now now one of them's nowhere to be found. And now I just don't like this shit, right? I don't like this champ shit. I don't want to hear anything about Alex Pereira. I want to see Dricus take 5-6 fights at middleweight and defend his belt, and then go think about moving up.
Right.
Sorry.
No, the thing is, Dricus Du Plessis, before winning the title, already had mentioned that his plans were to win this title and then next to go up to 205 and try to take that title. It's like, look, dude, I get it. I'm all for it. I know how these guys are wired. They're super competitive. They think they're the best. They're confident that they can beat the shit out of anybody in any division. Cool. Dreams, aspirations, right? You want to be a superstar. With those 2 belts comes double the money. You know, there's a lot of fame that comes with that. But it's like, dude, you kind of look like a delusional asshole when you're sitting there without a belt and you're already talking about 2 fucking belts. It's like, hold on,
100%.
Do your thing, win your belt first, defend your belt a couple times to where it's appropriate that you go and fight in this second weight class. A guy that didn't do it, that should have done it, Kamaru Usman. But his friend Izzy was the title holder in a weight class above. That's why it never happened. So when a guy like Usman, a guy like Volkanovski, a guy like Israel Adesanya, when they want to go up and do the two belt thing, I'm okay with it. Like Islam Makhachev,
100%.
Give me a few title defenses, bro. Pantoja, give me a few title defenses before you're calling out O'Malley, which he already did. Sean O'Malley, especially, chill out, dude. He's talking about Topuria. You have a lot of shit to prove at bantamweight. So, yeah, I really, really don't like this double champ thing if you haven't earned it. I think it's such a special moment when you do earn it, though, that
100%.
That's what a super fight is, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly right. We're completely on the same page as far as that. So we're going a little long. We'll wrap it up quickly, but there's two other fights that are coming up that we do need to mention in the middleweight division. One is, of course, Paulo Costa versus Robert Whittaker, 2 absolute my guys. They're fighting on February 17th. It's the UFC 298 co-main event. Big fight, right? So those are 2 guys at the top of the division that are fighting very, very soon. So, I mean, less than a month here. So we got to talk about that. And then the other one is Brendan Allen versus Marvin Vettori. This is a little bit later, right? So they're fighting April 6th. It's a fight night main event. But, again, Brendan Allen on a huge win streak, right? Vettori, coming off a loss. But, these are two fights that we need to mention when we're talking about people who should be in the title conversation here. So Costa versus Whittaker, what do you think about that one? I mean, for me, I love Whittaker so much, but he just got his ass beat by completely dominated by Dricus. Yeah. If Whittaker wins, I still think he's a fight away, in my opinion. Yeah. What do you think? You agree with that?
I agree with that as far as Whittaker is concerned. I agree with it as far as Paulo Costa is concerned, too. I think Paulo Costa has been just as inactive, if not more so, than Khamzat Chimaev. If he wins this fight, I'd like to see him fight one more before he gets to the title. But, man, how about a Sean Strickland, Paulo Costa fight? The fucking memeability of that would be unbelievable.
That press conference would be insane.
For a contender, right?
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. I would love. There's so many fun fights to make, and I think that's part of what we're talking about in this video too. Is we shouldn't be boxed into stupid shit that doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think either guy, I would like to see one more win. Costa's coming off a win versus Luke Rockhold. Weird kind of fight, if you remember that one.
He's bleeding all over him, and
bleeding all over. He's what is it, licking it and shit? I don't know, some weird shit going on. But before that, 2 losses, right? So, yeah, I mean, both guys, I think, need another win to really be in the truly in the conversation. These are kind of honorable mentions at this point, in my opinion. Right. And then the other one, I think of these 4 guys in these 2 fights that we just talked about, the most intriguing one is Brendan Allen.
Yeah, I mean, he's the younger one. He's the guy that is on a big win streak, compared to the rest of them. Brendan Allen, man, he's absolutely legit. And then fighting a guy like Marvin Vettori, who's already fought for the title. We know, look, you love him or hate him, Marvin Vettori is there. He's the kind of guy that I think is going to stick around here in the rankings for a pretty damn long time. And he's already been to the title. Dino, he's already had a title fight.
Yeah,
it's a great test for Brendan Allen. And if Vettori could knock off this up-and-comer, he's right back in the picture.
Yeah, I agree. Vettori's in the picture, but again, Vettori, I look at him pretty much the same as Costa and Whittaker. I would need to see another win. For me, if Brendan Allen wins this, man, he's right. He's next.
To be made, you're saying?
I absolutely think so. If that fight was a little bit earlier, because I was asking you earlier if the medical suspensions have dropped, because I'm curious to see how long Dricus is going to be out for. He was pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
So I could see Dricus being out for 6 months. All this bullshit of UFC 300, I just don't see that happening. Do you?
It's just hard for me, Dino, and again, I love Brendan Allen, huge my guy, but it's hard for me to give Brendan Allen a title shot when I have Sean Strickland ahead of him, Israel Adesanya ahead of him, Jared Cannonier ahead of him, bigger, more established names. And then even a guy like Khamzat, to Khamzat's defense, he's going to be like, well, I've never lost. he's on a win streak. I've never had a loss. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but he
And
hasn't
I'm
fought
figuring
anybody.
right. I get it. There's obviously arguments to be made either way. I still think Brendan Allen is a
Vettori. I would much rather give it to him than Khamzat.
Marvin Vettori.
If we're talking on the basis of merit.
Yeah, look, Khamzat's probably the least deserving, based on merit. But yeah, I think Brendan Allen and Marvin Vettori still both another win away after this. But I get where you're coming from, and I would support it. I'm down. If it's Brendan Allen and DDP, it's Brendan Allen and DDP, man.
Yeah, I think. What do you think is the most likely outcome? You think it is Adesanya?
The most likely is definitely Israel Adesanya. I would say second most likely is Khamzat. Third would be Strickland. Fourth would be Cannonier.
Really?
Yeah. Fifth would be the winner of Paulo and Robert Whittaker.
Wow.
And then I guess Alex Pereira on we're fucked for 300.
Yeah.
You know, we need something to do. But yeah, that's the way I see it. What about you?
I would say Adesanya is probably the most likely. I would probably put Strickland next. And then I would say Khamzat, Cannonier, and then I would say the winner of Brendan Allen Vettori is more likely to get a shot over the winner of Costa Whittaker, personally. But
yeah, maybe.
And if we're talking about Pereira, I would rather go see him fight Tom Aspinall at that point. So, but anything else you want to add as far as the middleweight division and what's next for Dricus Du Plessis is concerned here?
No, so this was supposed to be a what's next for Dricus Du Plessis. It turned into like a diet state of the divisions. That's what I feel like.
We were talking about what's the next fight to make here. What do we think is the next fight to make? So, it is for Dricus. We're talking about Dricus, right? He's the one that these guys that we're talking about are going to be fighting. He's the champion, whether you like it or not. So, we'll do a full state of the divisions. You're right. We did kind of touch on a lot of this, but yeah. Listen, Dricus is a fun fighter, man. You know, he doesn't really have boring fights. Any one of these guys, I think, would be a fun fight.
Yeah, and to me, Dricus Du Plessis strikes me as the kind of guy that could beat any of these guys, but he could also lose to any of these guys. So I guess that makes it exciting. You know, I'm down to see what happens next at middleweight. We mentioned this last week when we were doing our full card breakdown and predictions for this card. We're like, man, middleweight's really becoming that division now after all these years of kind of shitting on it and it being really, stinky and boring. It's now starting to look fun, man. So I'm excited for the future of 185. I hope DDP is not the kind of champion that holds the division hostage and he stays somewhat active and gives the right guys the right fights at the right time.
He seems game.
Well, I mean, we'll see.
That's literally the one thing that he did say in his post-fight interview is in the press conference, is that he wants to fight guys who are deserving to fight for the title. So I hope he sticks to that. I mean, he only has so much say, right? But if it's Adesanya,
last one to mention, Dino. Sorry, last one that there's one more guy that I guess bears mentioning in this. That's Leon Edwards. We were talking about the whole champ thing. He's been running his mouth since the day he got the belt that he's interested in 185, right? Because that's the new trend now. You win a belt, you're no longer satisfied. You want another one. That's what we do in the UFC now. So Leon Edwards, just throwing that out there. That's another guy that I guess is a possibility.
I'm so good. Before we sign off, if it is Adesanya versus Dricus Du Plessis, how do you see that fight going?
As of right now, I would pick Dricus Du Plessis by knockout. But we'll watch film for that and we'll see what's up.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. But that's all we got for you today. We went a little bit longer than we intended to, certainly. But listen, I'm excited to see it. Like you said, Du Plessis is the kind of guy, he can beat anybody. He can lose to any of these guys at the top. A lot of exciting matchups to be made. I hope that Dana does make some announcements this week. I'm not going to hold my breath. You know, Uncle Dana does it at times. But, Bam Bam, if you have nothing else to add, please take us out.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the thumbs up. Dino, do the little bell, virtual bell for him. Boop. Ring the bell. That's going to notify you when our videos drop. Let us know in the comments, who do you think the next fight for DDP should be? You can also follow us on Instagram at the107MMA. Guys, he is DS. I'm Dino Bam Bam. We are the 107 MMA. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.